Oh, look at that fighter jet flying past the screen right at the start. Look at this news broadcast set up here talking about election data breaches in Arizona.
Data in the days before the 2020 presidential election. Yep, the one that they called the most secure wasn't.
And here is a graphic showing fraud data maps and numbers for the fraud ledger. That man in the suit is speaking right beside Donald Trump sitting at the Resolute desk. Now we see a split screen with news anchors discussing the primary elections and nominees.
Democratic chances have fallen dramatically.
The anchors on CNN are seriously discussing political campaign strategies and closures in Michigan.
Earlier in the campaign, Jake, he brought him in as his closer here in Michigan. You think about this, right? Elections are about choices. What is the message that you want to send to your voters, right?
Smoke fills the screen with patriotic text rolling across in front of an airplane silhouette. More text pops up welcoming everyone to the party with stylized glitch effects. A movie title graphic appears amidst rising dark smoke clouds. Panic and chaos text flashes on screen with dramatic cinematic styling. Dramatic close-ups of human faces appear under the Crimes Against Humanity title. Good People text appears as crowds march together through the smoke. A shield logo with a figure holding a spear and the verse Romans 8:28 appears. Look at this slide showing a 350,000 vote swing in Maricopa County.
Maricopa and Fauci lies and Islam invasion play out before our very eyes each day. Instead of being on the receiving side of evil, we have leaders exposing it, doubling down and encouraging we the people to dig in and learn and grow from it all. Maricopa, Michigan, FBI, official documents, and so much more will be looked into today. We were told we would have to walk through the darkness in order to see the light. It had to be this way.
Here's their Rumble channel showing over 514,000 followers and popular videos.
Rumble, that's our go-to for free speech. They take care of us and ensure that we
They are sitting proudly at number 2 on the leaderboard for their top video.
Shot up to number 2 with our video from August the 5th. Thank you so much for hitting that like button in the comments. And, it just feels good to know that you guys are supporting us. And
they are showing off their new rhinestone bedazzled crew neck and leggings collection in the shop.
Our rhinestone collection is just for you. Same comfy apparel you already love, just with a little sparkle. We always encourage you to wear your And We Know apparel out in hopes that you'll meet like-minded people, and you're sure to stand out in these. Available now on the shop And We Know site.
On the And We Know site. So this is amazing. You guys know that we've been working hard behind the scenes, our team, and ensuring that you guys always have the latest gear available.
Here is a look at their brand new website layout with links for shopping and subscribing.
Check it out. You'll notice that you'll see the shop button at the top there. See that shop button? We have the home, the podcast, partners, shop, support, and you get involved and send your Patriot Showcase. Click on that link and get it to the Patriot Showcase. You can send us your photo so we can play it on our videos here. We have our latest episode on our new website. Our 2027 Alaska cruise is now listed for you guys, and so much more. So now that we've covered that, wanted to make sure that we
Donald Trump is speaking from the Oval Office about a very unfortunate Supreme Court decision.
Decision in the Supreme Court concerning birthright. It was close, but a very, very unfortunate decision. So we're making adjustments because it's very unfair. This was done for a different reason. This was done right after the Civil War. This was for the babies of slaves. And what's happening now, if people are building businesses around it, from wealthy people are building businesses around birthright citizenship, that's not the way it's supposed to work. It's a disgrace. They're buying their way in, and we're not going to let it happen.
So he has an executive
order. The man standing is explaining Section 215A of the Immigration and Nationality Act.
Children of aliens who are not entitled to birthright citizenship consistent with historical exceptions to birthright citizenship recognized by the Supreme Court in Barbara. So, second executive order he signs delegates presidential authorities to the Secretary of State and Secretary of Homeland Security and directs them to halt the practice of birth terrorism.
Yes, he continues to detail why birth tourism is considered a major loophole in the American immigration system.
Of the Immigration and Nationality Act gives the president this authority. 215A of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Very rarely used, probably one of the strongest laws in the entire federal code, gives him this power. And that's not the only, but it's the main statutory authority that's being used in this order. So birth tourism is by definition a fraud on the American system, on the American taxpayer, on the American visa. If you're coming here, and again, your stated purpose is that you're a tourist, then by definition, you are here to come for a few weeks, look at what we have, engage in commerce, and leave. So if you're telling a consular officer you're here as a tourist, but your true purpose and intent is to go to a baby mill, give birth, and try to mint an American citizen while you're here, then you're committing a fraud against the American government. And by definition, that visa can and should and will be now denied.
That's right.
The White House just dropped the Spider-Man retargeting undocumented immigrants, and honestly, the internet is wild these days.
His web, it goes across through this video they're showing you and continues across, and voila, criminal illegal aliens will be caught and deported. Standing there with ICE and those guys with the spider webs on them.
Shiloh Marks points out that North Carolina might be forced to remove about 490,000 ineligible voters before the
They bring them in for the votes and other things, right? The Democrats, that's the only way they can win. So they're going to remove them. 490,000 ineligible voters from the voter rolls before midterms. Wake and outlaw one state with almost 500,000 ineligible voters on their voter rolls. Let's do this nationwide. Subversion. An intentional effort to subvert the United States refers to a deliberate, systematic attempt to undermine, weaken, overthrow, or destroy the constitutional government, institutions, laws, or authority of the United States, often from within, through covert or unlawful means. Now let's
over in Maricopa County, the numbers just do not add up, and the official explanation feels pretty sketchy.
Remember the Q drop? Our governor won by 320,000 votes. The Republican governor, the Democrat senator is winning by 32,000 votes. And then you looked at all the numbers at the end. There was a 350,000 vote swing to the Democrat senator. Question mark?
In my role as the White House chairman of the White House Transparency Task Force, we released some new documents. What do they show? Arizona's largest county suffered a significant breach of its election data in the days before the 2020 presidential election. Yep, the one that they called the most secure wasn't. Well, how did it happen? A self-described hacker foiled security and scraped 633,000 voter registration files from Maricopa County's website. The Biden Justice Department, by the way, the FBI then solved the case. They actually went, they got the guy to confess. They found the hacker who took 633,000 files, and they got him to confess. And you know what? The Biden Justice Department, the Arizona Attorney General's office, and 2 local prosecutors would not charge the man with a crime, even though it caused the Maricopa County system to go down for a period of time on election, in that final hours of election day. We learned about this because it was recorded over and over again in a cyber intrusion log that was kept by U.S. intelligence agencies. And then we went to the FBI. The FBI was kind enough to get us the documents. It is pretty remarkable. Think about this. This is all playing out in late 2020 to early 21. At the same time, the Biden Justice Department doesn't want to prosecute someone who admitted penetrating and compromising an election system and stealing voter registration files, your and my type of data. By the way, some of very sensitive data. They were charging people with trespassing for going into the Capitol on January 6th. Same Justice Department. Think about that for a second. All right. One thing is certain from this, when you take all the things that we've exposed last year, Iran hack, China hack, Maricopa County hack, the vulnerabilities of the machines, the Venezuela hack, we can say one thing for sure. We promised the sugar pill we were force-fed in December 2020, that the 2020 election was the most secure in U.S. history. A direct quote from Chris Krebs. Not true.
Chris Krebs keeps telling us we have to walk through the darkness before we see the light, but people are really starting to question what is going on behind the scenes.
You must walk through the darkness before you see the light. Why is this relevant? It's more coming on all this. CIS is involved. How do you show the public the truth? Well, they're showing, and we've been doing this for years. It's taken time. How do you safeguard U.S. elections post-President of the United States? How do you remove foreign interference and corruption, install U.S.-owned voter ID laws and other safeguards? It had to be this way. Continuing on, Catherine Herridge was on this. Declassified records challenged the claim that 2020 was, quote, the most secure in American history. The FBI records confirm the exfiltration of 633,000 voter files, including non-public information. More Maricopa County breach investigated by FBI, according to August 4th letter. The FBI confirmed that voter records were legally extracted from the site and identified a suspect who admitted the crime. Illegally scraped 633,000 voter files that included 930 that were sensitive, non-public data. United States Attorney's Office for the District of Arizona, the Arizona Attorney General's Office, the Maricopa County Arizona Attorney's Office, and the Pinal County Arizona Attorney's Office were presented with the findings of this investigation. All declined to prosecute this matter. Context: voter files can be used for identity theft, fraudulent voter registration, as well as targeting individuals for blackmail.
The Transparency
To
Task
date,
Force keeps pushing out unverified
Task
voter
Force
information
has
to the
not
public,
identified
getting closer and
evidence
closer
votes,
to exposing that election.
And the votes were changed. So again, all that information continues to be pushed out to the public, getting closer and closer to exposure of that election. And boy,
And look at
oh
this.
boy,
James
we had
O'Keefe
even,
went into a
something
Detroit
very
polling place and
interesting.
walked out with
James
Eminem's
O'Keefe.
ballot without showing any identification.
No ID. He actually went in to get Eminem's ballot. Eminem, you guys know the rapper. They're in Michigan, out of all places. So he walked in there, and look what happened.
The last name is
The poll workers just went along with it and told him to fill out both sides, even confirming the fake birth date of October 17th, 1972.
So Eminem's name is Marshall Bruce Mathers. He just walks in and says, "I'm Marshall Bruce Mathers," and gives him his birthday.
Marshall Bruce Mathers. All I got to do is sign this thing here.
Yeah, you got to fill both sides.
Fill both things out.
Confirm your birthday with us?
The birthday is October 17th, 1972. Yep.
I know there, but you got to
That's
fill
a
out.
great thing there. I mean, you know.
He casually mentioned not having an ID, and the worker even complimented his famous name before telling him to hurry up and fill out the forms.
Marshall Mathers?
Oh, everyone always says that, but you know,
Listen.
it's. I guess that's like the rapper, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He lives in the area.
You're getting under time elements. Start filling that out.
Start filling this out.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I have a phone call. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
They just handed
walks
over
in,
the
gives
ballot
the
of one
name
of the
of
most
Eminem,
famous men in
says,
America
gives
like it was
birthday.
nothing,
He's able to get,
proving those voting
no
loopholes
ID, no
are still
questions
wide
that
open.
matter. Just, yep, that's what it says, and fill both sides. O'Keefe walked into a Detroit polling place, gave the name and the birthday. They started processing the ballot of one of the most famous men in America like it was nothing. That was the flashback. Right now, his team is back on the ground in Michigan, catching the exact same election crimes on camera. Loopholes never close. The same soft system is still wide open. Same people who swore it was the most secure election in history, they're still running it. When it comes to Michigan,
CNN even had to
there's
admit there is panic in the Democratic Party
Party.
over Abdul El Sayed
The
partnering with
Saeed
Hassan
character,
Piker right after his controversial
oh boy,
comments.
Even CNN had to admit it. Stick around.
Folks,
Here is Fortify 365, an advanced cellular support supplement with N8 Plus and glutathione that boosts your energy and brain function.
NAD Plus, a coenzyme found in every cell of your body. I'm telling you, sharper, stronger, I'm more energized. It fuels my brain function. I can tell it boosts the energy, supports metabolism, helps my cells repair and regenerate. And I was just overwhelmed when I took this stuff. As we age and we face stress and illness, or addiction, NAD drops those levels, leaving us tired and foggy.
It works as the ultimate antioxidant to reduce oxidative stress, support your immune system, and help your cells repair from daily fatigue.
It detoxifies the liver and as a result supports the immune system and reduces inflammation and oxidative stress. So together, NAD Plus and glutathione are powerful anti-aging combo. You can actually get this in the description box below.
You can grab this powerful anti-aging combination by clicking the link in the description box below at fortifystore365.com/awk.
So
It is
Michigan
wild
D,
that El Sayed chose a
Hillary
podcaster who
Schultz.
once said America deserves September
Abdul
11th to be as
El-Sayed
closer
made
right
choices
here in
closing
Michigan.
with Hassan Piker, who just last week was highlighting 9/11 aftermath headlines. Not a big tent party, another Mike Rogers voter. Well, Joe Lang says panic in the Democrat Party. The Muslim Brotherhood candidate can't win statewide, and they know it. Lots of Democrats are going to stay home and vote Republican, or they're going to vote Republican. I hope He tours Michigan constantly with Piker, and I'm going to show you Piker in a moment because I had to look the guy up.
It for one of the highest offices in the United States of America, bringing in this very controversial individual to campaign for him. Not only did he bring him in earlier in the campaign, Jake, he brought him in as his closer here in Michigan. You think about this, right? Elections are about choices. What is the message that you want to send to your voters, right? And Abdul Al-Sayed chose to bring in Hassan Piker, not a Michigander, an outside podcast influencer who once said America deserved September 11. Just last week, he added a framed picture of the September 12 New York Times front page with the World Trade Towers burning in the background to show off on his Twitch stream.
Yep.
This is who Abdul Al-Sayed chose to bring in for his clothes.
So that's CNN. For those listening and not watching, can you believe if you're listening to that, you're like, oh, that must be Fox News. Oh, no, that's CNN. They brought somebody on to kind of bring up this Piker dude. Well, here's the Piker guy. Hassan Piker calls on his followers to pow capitalists, right, to take them out. Yeah, take them out.
And look at this guy completely losing it on screen, calling for total violence and throwing around insane accusations like it is nothing.
Folks. He wants to take us all out. Doesn't like capitalists, can't stand people. But that's who Al-Sayed's bringing around.
Look at CNN breaking down the numbers here, showing how his primary victory actually came from areas with higher education levels, while working class support took a major hit.
And what's going to do to Michigan?
How do Democratic chances look now in Michigan now that we know that El-Sayed is the nominee?
You know, once El-Sayed became the favorite for that nomination, and now that he's actually become the nominee, Democratic chances have fallen dramatically.
0 out of 15 counties with the lowest college degrees went to him, proving just how much trouble he is having with working class voters.
The lowest share of college degrees. Ergo, he did not win in those working class areas. Where he did win, he won 13 of the 15 counties with the highest share of college degrees. So you're thinking about Democrats having real trouble amongst the working class. El-Sayed support came dramatically from those areas. In fact,
and now pundits are genuinely worried whether this huge disconnect with regular working people will totally crush his chances in the general election.
There's real worries among Democrats. Will that transfer over to the general election and El-Sayed continue to have the problems that prior Democrats have had with the working class?
You think that's not the only worry the Democrats should have here?
No, it's not the only worry because, I mean, the polling estimated El-Sayed's primary margin by about 10 points. And I think there's a real question, will that happen in the general election again? Because the general election polling is quite tight. And what we know in Michigan is the candidate of the college degrees tend to be overestimated. Will that happen with El-Sayed? Maybe, but I think it's just another worry and why this race has closed dramatically and the folks who are trying to handicap it.
Super interesting.
Yeah,
that $115,000 funding from a questionable group is just wild, drawing direct comparisons to how political scandals always surface after the nominee takes power.
Joe Lang, just like what happened to the Nazi rapists in Maine, wait till the terrorist supporter and this Jew hater gets the nomination, then starts dropping all the dirt that has been held back. Just wait. Bet there's worse stuff coming. He's calling for universal health care for everyone, paid for by taxpayers. Like most Democrats, he is willing to raise taxes to pay for everything. And while he's touting free health care paid for by the taxpayers as a right, his wife runs a psychiatric office where she doesn't accept insurance. She demands all cash payments. Sounds like he's not living what he's preaching. Oh, man.
The host is really doubling down now, comparing this whole network of political associations to past controversies and claiming it is all part of a much bigger hidden agenda.
Already a millstone around El-Sayed's neck. Remember, we talked about Hassan Piker. If you're looking at your screen, you can see the type of things that he screams out with all kinds of cuss words about America and what he thinks about those who support freedom in our country. El-Sayed is already on record refusing to disavow Piker. Now he's going to have to defend everything that Hassan Piker has ever said. I want to remind you of a similar situation in the past.
Bringing up Obama and Jeremiah Wright out of nowhere just to draw parallels is such a classic pundit move to connect unrelated political scandals.
The guy that was up there preaching, saying the chickens are going to come home to roost. I remember that. The Obamas were members of his church for 20 years, but publicly dropped him like a hot potato after all his racist and anti-American sermons started coming out. How long till El-Sayed is forced to publicly disavow Hassan Piker. Obama and el-Sayed are both tools of the Muslim Brotherhood. They both have close associations with people who hate America. They are both part of the same movement. The Muslim Brotherhood thought they had won the game after Obama was installed. Down with all those blanks. Fill the streets with their capitalist blood. Remember, that's Hassan Piker.
Now they are rolling
Trump
clip
was
after
never
clip trying to link
supposed to
past
win.
administration scandals
Anybody
to
remember when
celebrity
the Obama
events,
administration
creating this
blamed the
massive
terrorist
conspiracy
attack
theory
in
web out of
Benghazi
thin
on an
air?
obscure online anti-Muslim video that was watched by almost nobody? They arrested the person who made the video, and it became a national story in order to make an example of him.
Obama, this is while the attack's happening. So we have an embassy and a CIA annex under attack, and the president of the United States is flying to Vegas to meet with Beyonce.
Yep.
You hear that, everybody?
So the problem's way bigger than Hillary. I don't like to focus on Hillary because she's like the scapegoat and she's done a million things wrong, but God, there's so many other people. Jake Sullivan is in a super senior role in our government who had a way bigger role than Hillary, and like people just ignore it. And like I said, they don't care that Obama went to Vegas. It blows my mind. And then the fact that
The commentary gets even more absurd as they try to pin the blame entirely on select figures while completely ignoring how leadership as a whole dropped the ball.
and everyone's like, yeah, and then nobody else had to be held accountable. I mean, Obama, as everybody knows, he did tell the Secretary of Defense, use all means to do this, and then he got on a plane to Vegas to go see Beyonce and Jay-Z. It's like, why did he not cancel that trip and stay and make sure his orders were followed up?
Yep, the traitor to our country, Obama. So it was the opening salvo in bringing Sharia law to the United States. It was a purposeful attack by Obama on Americans' free speech rights. What almost nobody remembers is that right before they arrested the maker of the anti-Muslim video, the Obama administration had signed onto a UN resolution. 1618 was an initiative being pushed by Muslim countries after 9/11 to limit free speech that was discriminatory, defamatory, or incited violence against Muslims. The U.S. Constitution guarantees free speech rights even against religion, and that was the reason this resolution had never been approved by our government until the Obama administration. Obama was bringing Sharia law to the United States. It was starting with removing free speech rights from anybody promoting anti-Muslim materials.
Back to that
They were
viral
going
clip,
to
and
be
wow, look at this guy standing up
deemed
there proudly declaring his
threatening.
radical agenda.
Hillary wasn't supposed to lose. She was supposed to usher in more Sharia law and replace the Constitution. People forget how long the Clintons have been connected to the Muslim Brotherhood. Here we go.
And listen to these massive crowds cheering him on like it is some kind of victory celebration.
Let's take gratitude in the fact that we're here in the great state of Florida. Part of power building is building a pipeline of leaders. I want to see, inshallah, one day governor of the state of Florida is a Muslim. Everybody say inshallah. The House has Muslims in there. Say inshallah. Senators, Muslim senators, say inshallah.
Muslims. This Islamic scholar takes the mic next and doubles down on defending jihad without any hesitation.
Their principles, what they believe in. They don't apologize about jihad. They're not afraid of jihad. It's a part of who we are.
So remember, Hillary had an intern named Huma Abedin.
Now we move on to
40-year-old
Huma Abedin and look at her deep
Abedin,
Clinton
Hillary
connections
Clinton's
going
shadow,
back
right?
decades.
The Politico once described her. She began working for Hillary in 1996 when she was a 19-year-old intern fresh from George Washington University. She was an intern, right? Huma's family has a long history directly connected to the Muslim Brotherhood. But Huma was a handler. For who? Prince Al-Walid. And the Muslim Brotherhood was just a proxy. Their puppet master was also Al-Walid, and he was taken off the chessboard early in Trump's first term.
Switching back to CNN coverage now, and they are openly celebrating these primary
the
results.
Islamic takeover of America.
If you are a young Muslim kid or an Arab kid, look at these numbers. Look at these numbers right next to us. You can do anything you want to in this country. We need you. We love you. If you're a parent with tears in your eyes tonight, I get it. We can talk about, as the congressman said, the politics later. It's history tonight, and God bless you.
And the numbers.
Let us look at those numbers on screen because Al-Sayed is pulling way ahead of Stevens.
All you Muslims out there, this is amazing. Wall Street Apes continues.
CNN celebrating Muslim political candidates winning is only celebrating their own demise. Is there a free press under Sharia law? The answer to that is no. There is absolutely no free press under Islamic laws. And if you look at some of the countries who have them, you cannot report anything against the principles of Islam. Media is restricted to content promoting the Islamic values. So there is absolutely no free press. And that is what they are celebrating. That is what we are going to get if we have Muslim political candidates winning in America.
Now,
Mike Rogers is stepping up on Fox News now to sound the alarm on this shocking primary race.
Michigan Senate, Mike Rogers, Michigan Senate candidate. The hope is that this will propel him to the top as a victory. Here's what he said as he's going against Saeed now.
If you woke up this morning thinking we're still California because Wayne County still doesn't have their vote count in, you may be right. Our election system here in Michigan is broken. We're going to do a lot of work between now and November to help get that thing at least back in some semblance of order. First of all, think about it. He just came out a few minutes ago and said that he won the race, so he's declaring victory. This is really about the heart and soul of our country.
He calls it the most extreme candidate nomination he has ever seen in American politics.
Get nominated by a political party, and the DSA candidates in the state in two different congressional races look like they're pulling it off as well. The Democrat Party is lost to this hardcore socialist attitude. And I fought terrorism my whole life. I was an FBI special agent, U.S. Army officer, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. I find it shocking that I'm going to go up against a guy who believes America deserved 9/11. That's why this race is so important, Lawrence.
Yeah, he was with Hassan Piker, who had.
And the panel wraps it up by highlighting how dangerous this shift really is for the country.
He may have that viewpoint, but he's very slick. And there's a lot of people that find his message inspirational, even though it's anti-American.
It's interesting, right? Fox News showing a lot of this guy, but showing Mike Rogers, having him on board is great. So we'll see how that plays out. Can you stay in prayer?
Elon Musk steps up to deliver a powerful wake-up call for everyday citizens in the United Kingdom.
Elon was able to give a message, remember, for all the folks in the United Kingdom.
This is a message to the reasonable center, the people who ordinarily wouldn't get involved in politics, who just want to live their lives. They don't want, they're quiet, they just go about their business. My message is to them. If this continues...
He warns that if the current path continues, violence will inevitably land right on their doorsteps.
You will have no choice.
When people choose to stay quiet and just mind their own business, they end up with no choice left.
Whether you choose violence or not, violence is coming to you. You either fight back or you die. You either fight back or you die. And that's the truth.
The British public is making it clear that they are ready to stand up and fight back.
In the world, and they're ready to fight back.
So that's what's playing out over there. And we're going to keep you guys in our prayers with all that's playing out. Man, we got a lot more to
Turning to domestic news, $229 billion in uncovered waste and corruption has been exposed.
What they're up to, Fauci being exposed with the phone that was grabbed by the Senate subcommittee, and so much more. Fellow Patriots, LT here. I'm inviting you to join me for a very special Alaska cruise, August 7th through the 14th, 2027. This is time with the And We Know family, live Q&A, behind-the-scenes stories, real conversations, and fellowship with people who love God, truth, and freedom. Book early for the best cabin selection at inspirationtravel.com/LTC or call 855-557-3042. Again, that's 855-557-3042. Link in the description box below.
The United States has spent billions of dollars over the years in helping with health strategies all across the world. What we learned over time, and especially after coming here, is that oftentimes, and I'm oversimplifying it, but this is an accurate description, what would happen is we would go to a country and say, we're going to help you with your healthcare needs. Then we would drive over to Northern Virginia somewhere, find an NGO, one of these organizations, give them all the money, tell them go to this country and do their healthcare program for them. That NGO would then take about, some percentage of that money for their overhead and administrative costs. And by the time it got down to it, the host country had very little influence. It was sort of imposed on them. And only a percentage of the overall money ever actually reached the patients and the people on the ground that we were trying to help because of these costs. This makes no sense. So why are we hiring American and international NGOs to go into other countries and run healthcare systems that are parallel and sometimes in conflict with the healthcare systems of the host country? If we're trying to help countries, help the country. Don't help the NGO to go in and find a new line of business. And so that's what the model that we're breaking. We're not doing this anymore. We are not going to spend billions of dollars funding the NGO industrial complex while close and important partners like Kenya are either have no role to play or have very little influence over how healthcare money is being spent. Bottom line is, if you want to help a country, work with that country.
That's right. And so this fraud.
The newly formed fraud industrial complex is already mapping out government data silos and payment controls.
$29 billion plus and covered and counting from the White House. Observing Conscious put that amazing graphic together, and I put this in the description box below. The fraud industrial complex just got its own White House website.
Federal agencies have pulled together into one coordinated fraud task force to freeze payments and recover stolen assets.
Department of Justice's National Fraud Enforcement Division and pulled Treasury, DOJ, HHS, USDA, HUD, DHS, Small Business Association, and all OMB, and the rest into one coordinated fraud task force. Now the data gets cross-referenced across agencies, repeat players surface, providers, contractors, NGOs, and intermediaries connect, money trails become visible, payments get frozen, bad actors get suspended and debarred, assets get recovered, prosecutions follow. Everything gets added to the record.
With over 8,000 active fraud cases and billions in pandemic loans targeted, accountability is finally catching up.
Referred 562,000 pandemic loans worth $22 billion for collection. This is exactly what we've been mapping. Fraud became...
The White House unveils a new transparency initiative targeting fraud across federal agencies.
Exposes the architecture holding it together. Now we're mapping the machine in public. The fraud industrial complex just met the fraud ledger. Let's hope the FBI is behind a lot of this too, helping out.
Director Kash Patel brings a new standard of accountability to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, cutting waste and tightening contracts.
Under Director Kash Patel, reversing the costly practices of former directors Comey and Wray. The changes began at the top. Patel reduced his personal days and holidays by nearly half.
The Federal Bureau of Investigation shifts its focus from lavish travel and redundant leases to strict fiscal discipline under new leadership.
Cost taxpayers $3.5 million in avoidable landing fees, all to save themselves 20 minutes in a car. But that was only the beginning. New headquarters canceled. $5 billion in projected costs eliminated. Domestic leases cut. Redundant facilities...
Saved funds and eliminated projected costs total $7 billion, marking a major turning point in agency spending.
$7 billion. For years, waste was routine. Comey and Wray used Reagan Airport like their personal runway. Expensive leases and contracts grew larger while taxpayers paid the bill. But when Director Patel took over, he made a different choice.
Director Patel enforces leaner operations and fewer personal perks, proving accountability is now official policy.
Leaner operations and a new level of discipline across every aspect of the Bureau's budget. Accountability at the FBI is no longer just a promise, it's policy.
Yes.
Observing Consciousness highlights the recovery of Dr. Fauci's coronavirus-era phone backup, revealing a potential digital map of the entire pandemic command structure.
Used during the pandemic. Oh. This is huge. Observing Consciousness gave us the phone maps the network. The iPhone backup. Fauci's COVID-era government iPhone backup. Think bigger than Fauci. This can become a digital map of the entire COVID command structure. Who talked to whom? what they knew when they knew it. NIH, NIAID, HHS, scientists, universities, grants, contractors, and the people shaping the public narrative.
State-level investigations in Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, and Oklahoma cross-reference phone data, diaries, and testimony to expose the COVID accountability story.
Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, Oklahoma are investigating at the state level where Biden's federal pardon carries no protection against state charges. The phone maps the network. The states create the exposure. This could blow the COVID accountability story wide open.
Former President Donald Trump questions why the Department of Justice prosecuted specific individuals when nothing like that had ever taken place before.
And they prosecuted Steve Bannon, two very decent people, over something that essentially was never prosecuted before. And there are sort of telltale signs of similarity. And they went to jail for a number of months over something that I saw one of the analysts said they used to laugh at it in the Justice Department when something like that was referred. But Merrick Garland prosecuted two very decent people and sent them to jail. I wasn't president. I would have given him a pardon in 2 seconds. But I wasn't. This was after I left. They waited till after I left, and then they prosecuted these two people, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves. So when you see that happen, you sort of say maybe he should. What he did is far more serious than a lot of crimes, frankly. But they prosecuted two people when nothing like that has ever taken place before.
Nothing.
Senator Ron Johnson tells Lindell TV that Americans want to move on, but a full COVID reckoning must include investigating gain-of-function research and early treatment sabotage.
Response to Democrats who continue to dismiss the evidence surrounding COVID.
What's your response to your Democrat colleagues who haven't looked at any of the information that's been put forth at this time?
You've got to pull your heads out of the sand. I know Americans just want to move on. I mean, COVID was a dark period for this country. But if we don't want to have to go through another dark period, we better analyze exactly what went wrong, the freedoms taken away, the people who needlessly died, and we need a full COVID reckoning. That includes taking a look at gain-of-function research, how the funding of that might have contributed to the pandemic, how early treatment with cheap generic drugs, how that was sabotaged. The hospital protocols, we're going to be holding a public event where we're going to have witnesses from around the country. Just heart-wrenching stories of how their loved ones died with completely uncompassionate care. Obviously,
The spotlight shifts to another official speaking out on the severe accountability gaps during the public health crisis.
Injections, we need to get to the bottom of that. I just see that the FDA approved an mRNA-based flu vaccine. Have they done sufficient studies? Or are they just saying, well, the COVID injections were safe and effective, this one must be too? I mean, that's been the history of child vaccines. They've never been compared in a true placebo-controlled trial. So again, there's so many questions American people have. The questions are growing. What happened in COVID, the failure of our agencies, the failure of science, the corruption of science, I mean, all this has to be taken a look at with open eyes. We have to start questioning these things. If we learn one thing about during COVID is you cannot trust the self-proclaimed experts. They totally failed us, and Fauci was the king of the self-proclaimed experts. He was Mr. Science, and he failed us.
Sure did. And so,
he moves right into the grocery sector, pulling out a chart to highlight massive profits from selling customer data.
$527 million in profit in 2024, selling your shopper data.
He presses the panel to pay close attention because this data peddling practice is spreading fast to other businesses. Artificial intelligence tracks spending habits to profile wealthy households and aggressively hike prices for those who can pay.
This family has a lot more money than the folks in the other community, so we're going to change their prices based on their spending to a higher level because they can afford it. Oh, yeah.
He calls this marriage between big tech and mega corporations one of the biggest scams in American history.
The AI industry and these mega corporations, and they're trying to pull it off against every American consumer. AI surveillance pricing is the unholy trinity of everything Americans hate: spying on people, ripping them off, and taking away jobs. Let me just talk about each of them.
Grocery stores are quietly amassing customer purchase history exclusively to turn a profit behind closed doors.
Your data and tracking your purchases, all for their profit. For example, take Kroger. Kroger is not just a grocery store, though it is certainly that, one of the largest. It is a data-selling mega corporation. Kroger's loyalty program has a treasure trove of data on you if you're one of their customers. One Kroger customer got a copy of his shopping profile recently. You want to guess how long it was?
One loyal customer received a 62-page file detailing personal shopping records harvested for corporate profit.
On this one person based on his shopping history. Last year, Kroger earned over $500 million from selling the data that it harvests from its loyal customers and giving it to other corporations. You know, that accounts for 33% of its net income last year. A third of its income came from selling the personal data of its own customers. Let me just say that again. Kroger made $500 million by tracking its customers in store and online and then selling that to other people. Second,
Surveillance pricing weaponizes consumer data against everyday shoppers just to squeeze out higher profit margins.
On Delta's second quarter 2025 earnings call, Delta's former president, Glenn Hounstein, revealed its partnership, Delta's that is, with an outfit called Fetcher, which is a company that specializes in AI surveillance pricing. Now, after that earnings call, Bloomberg uncovered a Fetcher white paper that describes using AI with airlines to replace simple, flat fares with a complicated pricing scheme that will vary the fare based on what they believe individual customers are willing to pay. Fetcher went on, this company, to say that it's time for the airlines to enter an exploitation phase of AI technology. Think about that. These companies are salivating at the prospect of using AI technology and your personal data to exploit you, and they're not even pretending otherwise. Finally, taking away jobs. You know, this practice of surveillance pricing is making its way to brick and mortar stores. It's not just online. Here's an example of that. Kroger and Walmart and other retailers are rapidly introducing digital shelf labels all across their stores. We'll give you an example over my shoulder here of a picture.
Digital shelf labels popping up nationwide enable instantaneous price changes right on the store floor.
Labels can be used because they can be changed instantaneously. They can be used to implement AI surveillance pricing in the store, not just online. Now, of course, this will end up costing jobs in the store, certainly, but think about where all of this is heading. Delta's former president, I mentioned a moment ago, really put it best when he said that the goal of the industry, the goal of all of these industries, these mega corporations and the AI industry that's working with them, the goal is to charge what they call personalized prices, you know, as if it's a benefit to you. Personalized prices. Here's what he said. This is a full re-engineering of how we price and how we will be pricing in the future. We will have a price that's available on that flight, on that time, to you, the individual.
The speaker highlights how dynamic pricing will affect everyday consumers, drawing sharp criticism from the committee.
One person at a time. They're not going to charge you the same fare they charge your neighbor. They're not going to charge you the same fare as the guy sitting next to you.
Lawmakers demand greater transparency and protections against predatory pricing practices as corporate strategies evolve.
Step on an airline, and it's not just going to be them. It's going to be the grocery stores and everybody else until we figure out how to bring transparency, how to bring honesty, and some protections to the American consumer.
Political commentary shifts toward reported promises and central bank gold purchases amid rising inflation concerns.
The White House, promises made, promises kept. No tax on tips benefits more people in the state of Nevada. President Trump went there the other day, anywhere else in the United States. So when people talk to me about Donald Trump, I'm proud to say he loves Nevada. Governor Joe Lombardo. Reminds us of the drop March 4th, 2019. Promises made, promises kept. Continuing forward. Other things are playing out with our money is the central banks making significant gold purchases. That is huge for folks to pay attention
Analysts
to.
examine the steady demand for gold as economic indicators and inflation readings pressure financial markets.
And the trends that are happening. Dr. Kirk Elliott gave us that update last Saturday, and I hope you guys check it out. And we know .com/gold is in the description box below. reach out to them, folks. They'll pray with you. They'll answer your questions about this, and it'll change your life. That's for sure. Now
Delegate Thomas Garrett takes the floor to passionately defend constitutional rights and individual liberties.
Tom Garrett Jr., a Republican delegate in the Virginia House of Delegates representing the 56th District, which includes Buckingham County and surrounding areas. This video is linked. He's speaking on the floor of Virginia House of Delegates. And it's captioned, "Why would a government wish to disarm law-abiding citizens?" So the clip almost certainly is related to the Second Amendment. And boy, it's a doozy.
He questions the justification behind legislation that could undermine law-abiding citizens and their freedoms.
I asked AI, Mr. Speaker, if the Constitution and the Bill of Rights were reduced to 12-point font, single-spaced, how many pages they would take up. The answer is 11. And so our founders were brilliant in their brevity, but alas, we torture and misinterpret those words as a result. If James Madison wanted to be a little bit more wordy, the Second Amendment wouldn't read, "The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." It would read, "The right of the people to keep and bear arms to defend themselves from tyranny shall not be infringed." Mr. Speaker,
Garrett passionately argues that fundamental rights cannot be stripped away by government overreach or changing political tides.
to defend my family or to defend my freedom, and the government cannot take it away, try though it may. I was absolutely awestruck when a prominent religious advocacy organization for the largest Christian faith on earth got behind some of these particular bills. They must be reading a different Bible than me. Luke 22:36 says, Jesus told the disciples, "I'd sell you now, if you must, sell your cloak and buy a sword." And why? Because he had commanded them to go out and spread the word, and the roads were teeming with brigands, murderers, and thieves, and their right to defend themselves in doing that which was right was important even to Christ.
He draws historical and biblical parallels to emphasize the enduring right of self-defense for all people.
Put away his sword. And as a guy who goes to the Middle East a lot, I know there are people going, "Oh, there's Garrett throwing his Christianity at me." The Quran, the Torah, the Talmud, very, very prominent in Sikhism, in Buddhism, in Hinduism, is the right of people to defend themselves. It boggles the mind, Mr. Speaker, that this party will vote on party lines to eliminate mandatory minimums for rapists and child predators and murderers, and then along the same lines in reverse, vote to make an 80-year-old veteran who shed his blood to defend our nation a criminal because he possesses an 11-round magazine. Oh, that'll never happen. He just doesn't need to take it in public.
The speaker concludes with a stern warning about the erosion of constitutional principles and civic awareness.
Goes in to put out the fire and reveals his 11-round magazine. This man who bled and watched his friends die for this country is a criminal, having never committed a crime in his life, because we said so. Sadly, those who vote this way either do not understand what the Bill of Rights means or do not care. Mr. Speaker, I'm in the habit this session of saying things in ways that make some people uncomfortable, so why stop now? The history of self-defense is soaked in the blood of innocents. Karate means empty hand in Chinese. Why was the hand empty? Because the government controlled who had the weapons, and the people who were oppressed had to find a way to fight back against tyranny. Tens and tens of millions of people in the 20th century alone were murdered by their government.
He points out how gun control actually roots back to slave codes where certain groups were denied weapons for fear of rebellion.
You were not allowed to sell a firearm to an African American. You were not allowed to sell a firearm to an indigenous person. Why? Because the real racists were afraid of the wrong people having guns. That's racism, not, "Oh, you don't like my bill, you're a racist." That's history.
Referencing NPR and pointing fingers at Democrats, he argues that disarming law-abiding citizens inevitably leads to tyranny.
Would recognize the playbook we're seeing today from Democrats. And what happens when only the government is armed? All too often, Mr. Speaker, it's tyranny. I would wager, and I'm not asking, that you might own a firearm with a magazine with a capacity of greater than 10. That's all, I'm just saying. But when only the government, they say, oh, if guns are outlawed, only outlaws will have guns. Let me tell you who the outlaws are.
He highlights tragic examples around the world, from Syria and Iran to Nazi Germany, where governments stripped citizens of their arms before committing atrocities.
And I have friends in Iran who are texting me about tens of thousands of people who are murdered by the only people in Iran allowed to own guns this month, the government. And Iran's not the only place, and Syria's not the only place. Nazi Germany, no guns. Soviet Union, no guns. The killing fields of Cambodia, well, those people didn't have any guns. Maoist China, no guns. The patron of the Senate.
Drawing from American history, he emphasizes how throwing off oppressive rule was only possible because early citizens were armed.
Yoke of British tyrannical rule a lot sooner than the country that some other people came from because they had guns. So why would a government wish to disarm law-abiding citizens? Maybe the government is afraid that the laws that they wish to pass are so horrifically oppressive and freedom-denying that they have cause to be afraid of law-abiding citizens. And that's just as our founders would have had it, Mr. Speaker. In closing, I will do something I try not to do too often. I will repeat.
He passionately concludes that the government did not grant the right to self-defense, and therefore they cannot take it away.
Myself, defend my family, or defend my freedom. And contrary to what you may think, you can't take it away. Thank you.
So he's talking about this. He's because Virginia Democrats, who hold the majority, advanced and passed a major package of gun control bills in early 2026 that he and other Republicans view as a direct assault on the Second Amendment and the rights of law-abiding citizens. February 5th, 2026, the Virginia House of Delegates debated and passed multiple measures. These include an assault-style weapons ban, restrictions on large-capacity magazines, expanded storage secure firearm rules, limits related to public carry or transport of certain guns, industry liability provisions, ghost gun measures, and other restrictions. Republicans were in the minority, could not stop them. So the Democrats steal the elections, bring in illegals to steal the elections, tamper with the machines to steal the elections, get into power, and then when they get into power, they don't want to lose their power, and they realize, man, if they ever find out the laws we're going to pass, these people with guns are going to probably riot. Because the government's going to try to do what? The government that was not elected by the people is going to try to do what? You guys get it?
Islam has a problem with gays, democracy, bacon, dogs, music, Christmas, Hindus, Jews, Buddhists, Christians, women who show their hair, people who leave their religion, and even people who draw pictures of their prophet, who, by the way, married a 6-year-old. But if I have a problem with Islam, for some reason, I'm an Islamophobe.
So they throw everything at you. The gun laws, they call you an Islamophobe, they call you a racist. It's all they got left. That power's played out through the mainstream media and more. And we've been spending, 8 years now on this channel, but many years folks have been standing up for the truth, doing all they can to expose the evil that's all around us. These elections are very, very important. Very, very important. And the people that seem to be heading out to do the voting, especially in Michigan, are all the Muslims. They probably, 98 to 100% of them head in there and, of course, probably illegally vote. Who knows? Boy, they're pouring in. The communists taking over, socialism taking over, and more. And so we're just giving these as warnings. And we, the people, have to do our due diligence, stay in prayer, and work together to stop all of this. I like this, Josh Howerton. Here's another clip the other day when he's with Sean Ryan.
When you look at that thing, I mean, it'll blow your mind a little bit. So here's what that is. That is every cross-reference in the Bible where the Bible references other parts of the Bible. It's in the 60,000s. If you were to see that and one person wrote a book that did that many cross-references and dovetails into other parts of the Word, you would look at that person and you would think, That is the greatest author who has ever lived, like GOAT. No one will, opus and masterpiece, okay? But that book was not written by one man. It was written by over 40 men across 1,500 years, across 3 continents, Asia, Europe, and Africa, in 3 different languages, Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic. It has one unified story. It has 0 contradictions. Now listen, when I see that, like, that'll make my eyes sweat a little bit, because there is only one way to explain that. And it's that book over there. It was written down by men, but it was authored by the Word of God, by God himself. So man, if you're going, why is Christianity the one thing that you can disparage? Is because the Bible says the whole world lies under the power of the evil one. The Bible actually calls Satan the little g god of this world. There's like this tacit assumption throughout the entire Bible that Satan is really over all of the world systems. And that's why everything in the world aligns against one thing in particular, and it's Christianity, Christ, and Christians.
For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
The prayer closes our series, leaving a solemn tone over the final moments.
Guidance and direction in our lives. We thank you for the leaders who are stepping up to the plate, going against all that is playing out as evil around us. We know that much of this darkness that's overflowing through many people's lives will force them to look for something greater, something that is bright, something that actually brings the truth. And we know that Jesus Christ said, "I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man goes to the Father but by me." We go to him and we cry out to him now and ask for help. Giving us the ability to speak to our neighbors and our friends in the right way, helping us to make the right decisions in work and family and so much more. We know without you we can do nothing. We thank you for our daily bread. We ask that your will be done on earth as it is in heaven, and we continue to seek you for protection from the enemy. It's in the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen. Thank you, folks, for tuning in. Hope you have a great
And the American flag waves proudly as the commentary wraps up.
prayers. There's a lot going on, many big decisions that we had to make this past few weeks, and we know because of your prayers, many of you and your support, we're able to move forward with our Heavenly Father. For now, this is LT Semper Fi, with them we know. Signing out.
A fighter jet flies across the screen while text highlights the North Carolina issue.
Largest county suffered a significant breach of its election data in the days before the 2020 presidential election. Yep, the one that they called the most secure wasn't.
The fraud ledger graphic breaks down the numbers behind the complex system.
On the American system, on the American taxpayer, on the American visa.
CNN anchors debate political shifts and changing Democratic nomination odds.
The nominee Democratic chances have fallen dramatically.
Anti-Semitism concerns and political campaign strategies spark a tense discussion on air.
Not only did he bring him in earlier in the campaign, Jake, he brought him in as his closer here in Michigan. You think about this, right? Elections are about choices. What is the message that you want to send to your voters, right?
Mysterious dark clouds and fiery red titles flash across the screen. A dramatic welcome to the party with hidden meanings behind open borders. The movie reference hits hard with a look at bad computer-generated imagery and public panic. Crimes against humanity and human trafficking take center stage in this montage. More good people than bad rise up in the final stirring message. The emblem of Romans 8:28 seals the end of our journey.